Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Francis Oyima Edet, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu names Wike FCT Minister, Keyamo Aviation Minister. 19 others receive portfolios. NNPCL secures $3 billion emergency crude oil repayment loan to stabilize Naira. Plus, Germany approved plans to legalize recreational cannabis. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with breaking news where President Bola Tinubu has released their portfolios for 21 of their 45 confirmed ministerial nominees. Other ministers are Wale Idun, Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Adeboyega Yetala, Transportation, David Umai, Works, Festus Keyamo, Aviation and Aerospace Development, and Beta Edu, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. The list was released in a statement made available to newsmen. The portfolio are listed below. Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bozon Twani. Minister of State, Environment and Ecological and Management, Ishak Salako. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edo. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Bumi Tunji. Minister of Power, Adedayo Adelabu. Minister of State, Health and Social Welfare, Tunisia Alausa. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake. Minister of Tourism, Laola Adejon. Minister of Transportation, Adeboyega Yetala. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Anita. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Naji. Minister of State, Labor and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha. Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy. Minister of Works, David Umwahi. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. Minister of Youths, Abubakar Momo. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Beta Edu. Minister of State, Gas Resources, Ekberikbe Ekbo. Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lapobiri. Minister of Sports Development, John Eno. And Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has mourned the death of troops killed by bandits in an ambush in the Shirero area of Niger State, as well as the crash of a Nigerian Air Force helicopter in the state. The president, in a statement, disclosed that the incident brought him immense sadness, saying the officers and men were answering the call of duty while on an evacuation mission. While commending the courage and devotion of the fallen soldiers, Tinubu expressed condolence to their families, the chiefs of the defense staff, air staff, army staff, naval staff, and the entire armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In another development, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has called on all women especially mothers, to see to the reorientation of the youth in the nation to get them back on the path of good values and morals. She was speaking while playing host to the National Executive of the National Council for Women Societies, NCWS, in her office at the State House, Abuja. The First Lady pointed out that as mothers, the Council, and indeed all women, must be deliberate about seeking the youth and getting them out of the clutches of the negative aspect of social media.
An alternative. We have to give them a hope and make them realize who they are as Nigerians. You know, they shouldn't forget our culture. They shouldn't forget our traditions that really tell us who we are. We have to really go and nurture our children back. We have to give them an alternative.
In her remarks, the national president of the NCWS, Haja Adamu Lamilao, promised to partner with the First Lady on the Renewed Hope Initiative PET project. She said the council is ready to take the message of hope, unity, peace and prosperity from the First Lady to all Nigerian women. Meanwhile, former First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan has paid a solidarity visit to the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, at the State House, Abuja. The former First Lady thanked Senator Oluremi Tinubu for how she has impacted the lives of Nigerian women so far. She said it is imperative for her as a former president's wife to also support and encourage Senator Oluremi Tinubu on things that would move the nation forward. Dame Jonathan commended women groups for their support for President Bola Tinubu and his wife and pleaded that they should maintain their support for the government in order to sustain their patriotic efforts so far taken by the government. The First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, had earlier commended Dame Patience Jonathan for her support and advice. Dame Patience Jonathan was the First Lady between 2010 and 2015 when her husband, Goodluck Jonathan, was the president. In another development, the NNPC Limited today disclosed that it has signed a commitment letter and term sheet with Afrexim Bank for an emergency $3 billion crude oil repayment loan. The company said the agreement was jointly signed by both parties at the bank's headquarters in Cairo, Egypt. NNPC Limited, in a statement made available to newsmen, explained that the loan will provide some immediate disbursement that will enable the NNPC Limited to support the federal government in its ongoing fiscal and monetary policy reforms aimed at stabilizing the exchange rate market. Recall that last week the federal government reported a 13.6% drop in daily crude oil production in the month of July, leaving the country seriously short of dollar revenues from crude oil exports. Away from that, the federal government has insisted that no federal university is allowed to charge tuition fees in the country. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, David Adejo, said these at a public hearing by the House of Representatives at her Committee on Student Loans in Abuja. Adejo said that the recent increase in charges by federal universities in the country was unfortunate, noting that the charges collected were used to pay for some of its services, including electricity bills. He claimed that the signing of the Students' Loan Act was responsible for some of the hike in the university charges was false. Meanwhile, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has received some executives of Google at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Shettima also lauded the 1.2 billion naira grant provided by the technology giant for the support of the Tinubu administration's 1 Million Jobs initiative. According to the Vice President, the announcement of the grant was commendable and worthy of emulation by other companies. In politics, National Chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, has boasted of the increasing fortunes of his party, saying discussions are on to get some opposition political parties to collapse into the APC. Ganduje disclosed this today while giving an insight into the visit of Minister-designate and former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike to his residence. Asked whether Wike would be joining the APC as a minister in the President Bola Tinubu-led APC administration, Ganduje said the former Rivers governor is ready to cooperate with the ruling party without necessarily joining SHIV. Ganduje also added that the nomination of Wike as minister was done in the spirit of national competence and not an attempt to enthrone a one-party system. Still in politics, the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the February 25, 2023 presidential poll, Atiku Abubakar, has paid a fraternal visit to his counterpart in the new Nigeria People's Party (NNPP), Rabiu Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso, who made this known on his verified handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, said he received Atiku at his Abuja residence. The meeting between Kwankwaso, an ex-governor of Kano State, and Atiku, a former vice president, occurred amid a presidential tribunal sitting in Abuja. Atiku and his counterpart in the Labour Party, Peter Obi, are currently challenging the victory of President Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress (APC) in the CS poll. To the judiciary now, where special panel of the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja today affirmed the decision of the Ogun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which had earlier struck out all allegations of vote buying and voter inducement made by the Ogun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its gubernatorial candidate Ladi Adebutu made against Governor Dapo Abiodun and APC. The court, in its lead judgment read by Justice M.B. Idris, also upheld another decision of the tribunal, which confirmed the validity of the defense filed by Governor Dapo Abiodun. Recall that on 22 May 2023, Adebutu and PDP had filed the defense by Governor Abiodun. In a said reply, Adebutu and PDP alleged for the first time that Governor Abiodun and APC bought votes in the March 18, 2023 Ogun State gubernatorial elections. In the meantime, the federal government will on Thursday, tomorrow, arraign a suspended Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) Governor Godwin Emefiele and his associates for 6.9 billion naira procurement fraud at the Federal Capital Territory FCT High Court in Abuja. Emefiele will be arraigned alongside a female CBN employee, Sadatu Yaro, and her company on 20 charges of procurement fraud, conspiracy, and conferring corrupt advantages on his associates. The Imperial Olympics Bank chief, who has been in detention since he was suspended from office on June 9th, was accused of conferring corrupt advantages on Yaro, a director in April 1616 Investment Limited. In the charges signed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Federal Ministry of Justice Muhammad Abubakar, Deputy Director, Public Prosecution Nkiru Jones Nabel, and 8 other ministry officials, the 3 accused persons were alleged to have bought a fleet of over 98 exotic vehicles and armored buses valued at about 6.9 billion naira. In a separate development concerned about the increasing degradation of Niger Delta mangrove forest, Senator representing Bayelsa West, Siraki Dixon, has urged the federal government and regulatory bodies to end the wave of deforestation in the country. Addressing Senate correspondents in Abuja after receiving a recognition award from Global Initiative for Climate and Environmental Sustenance, GICS, the Bayelsa West Senator condemned the illegal felling of trees across Nigeria's forests. He urged the government at all levels to join in the fight against illegal felling of trees and deforestation and encourage afforestation in the country. Senator Dixon, who is currently chairman Senate Committee on Ecology and Climate Change, pledged to collaborate with the federal government to develop policies and frameworks geared towards the protection of existing forest and ecological resources.
afforestation to combat desertification as a result of global warming and the climatic changes that are causing flood and erosion and all of this, famine and wars, even across the continents. We should keep our eyes on preserving the trees that our ancestors did not cut and left for us. Even as we are speaking here in this hall, in the forest of Bayelsa State, the forest of my community even, and all the communities in Bayelsa State, River State, Delta State, Akwa Ibom, Edo, Cross River, Ondo State, and everywhere around the country where that is taking place. I want to use this opportunity to call on the governments and the local governments and community leaders. I want to call also on the federal agencies to pay attention to the reckless deforestation that is taking place. And there has to be greater accountability in what is going on in the forests. People fell trees anyhow. And within few years from now, you may not see any tree that is 10, 15, 20 years old. They finished felling all the big old trees that added to the beauty and nature's way of controlling the climate of the world.
In another development, the National Union of Air Transport Employees, NUATE, has directed the Aviation Security, AVSCE, and Logistics subsector to commence an immediate strike from today, August 16th, over their 30,000 naira monthly pay. The union made this known in a circular obtained by journalists and addressed to the Director General Civil Aviation, the GCA, Managing Director, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, Commissioner of Police, Airports Command, the Airport Commandant, Director, Department of State Security, DSS, Murtala Muhammad International Airport, MMIA, Lagos Command. The circular, which was signed by the General Secretary, we move to education, where the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has called on President Bola Tinubu to, as a matter of urgency, address the humanitarian crisis in Benue State, internally displaced persons IDP camps with hundreds of out-of-school children and many teenage pregnancies as a result of gunmen attacks. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Osadeke made the call during the union's humanitarian outreach to IDP camps at the Abagana in Makadi, the state capital, where he expressed hope that the federal government would do better this time as Nigerians are facing hardship. Represented by Ralph Ofunku and Stella Maris Oke, the ASU leader lamented the inability to safely return the IDPs to their villages and homes now being occupied by armed herdsmen. The ASU officials also brought food and clothing items to the IDPs. While officials of the State Emergency Management Agency assured the ASU officials of transparency in sharing the items, the IDP leaders of the displaced persons said they want to go home if security were provided to clear armed herdsmen from their homes. Still in education, the National Youth Service Corps NYSC orientation exercise is scheduled to resume in Borno State 13 years after the 3-week course was suspended over recurring attacks by Boko Haram insurgents. The NYSC took to its Twitter handle to notify prospective corps members deployed to the state's second stream of the Batch B orientation course of a change of venue. It said all prospective corps members deployed to the state are to reprint their callable letters from the NYSC portal, adding that the date of commencement of the orientation course has been changed to 18th August 2023. In another development, the Kano commander of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says it arrested 10 suspected drug dealers operating in different parts of the state in July alone. Sadiq Maigatari, the state NDLEA public relations officer, said this in a statement today in Kano. Maitagari said the suspect included Bubakar Yunusa, 33, James Temitope, 42, Sani Mohammed, 23, Aminu Sani, 23, and Emeka Williams, 31. He said the other suspects include Inusa Al-Hazan, 31, Muhammad Abubakar, 35, Aziani Hamza, 45, Sani Dahiru, 30, and Muhammad Ibrahim, 30. Away from that, the Anambra State Commissioner for Women and Social Welfare, Ife Obinabo, has sealed off the Arab God Community Children's School in Onitsha over allegations of illegal adoption and selling of children. Obinabo led security operatives to seal off the structure today after a report and documentary by Fisayo Sayambo made the rounds on social media and local television stations, alleging that the State Ministry of Women and Social Welfare was involved in an illegal adoption of a baby girl alongside one of her registered homes in the state. Reports say about 20 children were recovered from the orphanage operator, including a newborn baby, while the founder and the employees had fled and are currently at large. The children recovered were between the ages of 1 to 17 years, 10 boys, 9 girls, and a newborn baby. While denying any involvement of herself and the ministry in the illegal child adoption saga, Obinabo said the founder of the orphanage home, Reverend D.G. Ogo, was invited to her office in Awka for an explanation, but that she did not honor the invitation. And still to come in the news, UK inflation rate falls to a 29-month low. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Many thanks for staying with us. We'll move on with the rest of the news stories. Now to Africa, where Niger's military-appointed Prime Minister Ali Zain has made an unannounced visit to neighboring Chad, as well as African states set talks for mulling possible military intervention to reverse the country's coup. The Chadian government said that Zain, a civilian appointed by the military rulers, hoisting out Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26 arrived in Chad for a working visit. In a statement issued after meeting Chadian President Mohamed Idris Deby Itno, Zain said he had brought a message of good neighborliness and good fraternity from the head of Niger's government, adding that Niger is in a process of transition. Meanwhile, the Defense Ministry of Niger says at least 17 soldiers have been killed in an Islamist militant attack. Another 20 were said to be wounded. The ambush happened in the Kaliberi region close to the border with Burkina Faso. The military said more than 100 attackers were killed as they escaped the scene. Meanwhile, the government offered their condolences to the families of those affected. This is the seventh attack on the country's forces since military officers overthrew the government in Niamey 3 weeks ago. Niger's army has cited the jihadist insurgency as a justification for last month's coup. In the meantime, Cameroonian journalist Simon Ateba has resisted in his fight against the White House days after filing a lawsuit challenging the cancellation of his press pass. In recent interviews and social media posts, Ateba has claimed that the White House discriminated against him due to his race, because of his tough questions and because he reports for a lesser-known news outlet. In a lawsuit filed last Thursday against White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and the Secret Service, Ateba alleged that the White House targeted him by introducing a credentialing policy to block him from renewing his White House press pass. The rule change led to Ateba and more than 400 other White House reporters losing their passes. Elsewhere, 3 journalists and 1 language interpreter have allegedly been injured by a group of young Maasai people living in the Ngorongoro conservative area in northern Tanzania. Elibankini Abajata, the Deputy Commissioner for Conservation in the area, told newsmen that the attack happened as the journalists were monitoring how authorities have been providing conservation-based education to the citizens living there. Bajuta says they are investigating the attack and legal actions will be taken against those identified. According to reports, the injured are being treated at a hospital in the neighboring town of Karatu. It comes amid a row that erupted last year between the government and some Maasai community members opposed to the authorities moving them from what they call the ancestral land. Still in Africa, a petition to ban TikTok has triggered a debate among Kenyan members of parliament and citizens. The Kenyan parliament debated the petition, which was presented by a Kenyan, Bob Ndolo. Ndolo asks members of parliament to outlaw TikTok, citing concerns that the platform threatens Kenya's cultural and religious values. The petitioner also said that Kenya's weak regulation of TikTok has caused the proliferation of offensive and inappropriate content on the platform. Ndolo added that the ban would shield Kenyans against the negative effect of TikTok, including addiction, which could disrupt the education and mental health of students. Ndolo also expressed concern that the app could be illegally collecting or sharing Kenyans' personal data. Meanwhile, residents and opposition groups have accused government troops in Ethiopia's largest Oromia region of killing multiple civilians as the army continues to battle militias in another region, Amara. Family members of victims in West Shao told the newsmen that at least 10 civilians, including 4 members of a family, were killed by government forces. A resident, Arasa Yadisa, said 4 members of his family and 2 farm workers in his village were killed in a single incident. Meanwhile, the armed group, the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, widely operates in the area. However, Arasa said there had been no fighting between Ola and government forces prior to the attack. In another incident, a university student said he and 3 other young people were taken by security forces from their village, and only him managed to survive after the security forces opened fire on them. In the meantime, at least 7 people have died after a boat carrying nearly 300 people sank in the Mai Ndombe province in the western part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Authorities are still searching for survivors amid fears of the toll rising. According to eyewitnesses, the boat's wooden structure split in 2, causing the vessel to sink. Reports say many of the passengers were public servants traveling to a neighboring town for a routine checkup. DR Congo's lack appropriate infrastructure and control mechanisms to guarantee the safety of people traveling via its waterways. Expert often attributes such incidents to boats overloading and poor maintenance. Recall that in 2019, at least 30 bodies were recovered after a boat carrying 400 people capsized in the same province. Elsewhere, several West African migrants have been found dead aboard a boat drifting off Cape Verde, along with around 40 survivors. The exact number of casualties is unconfirmed. The boat had reportedly set off from Senegal a month ago with around 100 people on board. It is believed the vessel was heading for the Spanish Canary Islands, a popular gateway for migrants to the European Union. Meanwhile, thousands of people fleeing poverty and war risk their lives to make the dangerous crossing each year, often in modest boats or motorized canoes supplied by smugglers. Meanwhile, Libyan medical sources say clashes between 2 powerful armed factions in Tripoli have killed 27 people and wounded more than 100 others. Recall that violence broke out late on Monday after the Special Deterrence Force SDF seized the commander of the 444 Brigade. Reports say the fighting shattered months of relative calm in Tripoli. Meanwhile, the 2020 ceasefire has brought a measure of peace to Libya, but entrenched factionalism constantly threatens to upset that. Southern Africa, police in Zimbabwe have arrested 40 members of an opposition coalition who were campaigning ahead of elections next week. They were detained in the Glenview suburbs of the capital, Harare. Citizens Coalition for Change (CCC) spokesperson Fatzai Mahere said that Glamore Hakata, the party's Glenview South Member of Parliament candidate, was among those arrested. A police statement shared on social media said the CCC had engaged in activities not mentioned in their notification for a rally in the suburb. According to police, they held a vehicle procession, obstructed traffic, and chanted party slogans on the streets, prompting a police response after a resident reported the matter. Recall that last month, the opposition called on the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to take action against the use of the police to disrupt their rallies. In the meantime, Rwandan fugitive Fulgence Kiyashima has been in custody in South Africa, has been arrested again on an order of his transfer to Arusha, Tanzania to stand trial for genocide. He was arrested while in the holding cells at the High Court in Cape Town yesterday. Reports say Kiyashima is to answer to charges that he allegedly orchestrated the killing of approximately 2,000 Tutsi refugees at a Catholic church in Rwanda during the 1994 genocide. According to reports, the developments were at the request of the UN International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals. Elsewhere, Ghana has imposed a 10% tax on betting and lottery winnings effective from Tuesday. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, says the new withholding tax on all betting, games and lottery wins will be deducted at the point of payout. According to the GRA, in situations where a game is cancelled and the player's stake is returned or the value of the payout is less or equal to the amount staked, withholding tax will not apply. Lottery operators have been directed to make changes to their software to display the amount staked, winnings and tax withheld during payout for easy tracking by the Revenue Authority. GRA Commissioner Edward Gambra says the tax will boost domestic tax revenue mobilization as Ghana's total tax to GDP is very low compared to that of others in the sub-region. On the foreign, Alexandra Karakov has said that a container ship has departed Ukraine's southern port of Odessa today, becoming the first vessel to use a temporary Black Sea shipping corridor established following the breakdown of a UN-brokered grain deal last month. Karakov said the Hong Kong flagship was en route to the Bosporus, carrying more than 30,000 metric tons of cargo, including food products. According to him, the vessel had been stuck in the port since Russia's invasion of Ukraine began in February last year. Recall that the Ukrainian Navy had last week issued an order declaring temporary corridors for merchant ships sailing and from Ukrainian ports. While still on the foreign scene, Ukraine says its forces have liberated the village of Yerozian in the eastern Donetsk region, where fierce battles have taken place in recent days. A spokesperson for the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Andrei Kovakilov, said the country's defense forces took control of Yerozian and are consolidating their positions. Kovalev added that in the Eastern Front, Ukrainian forces are continuing to conduct counter-offensive operations south of Bakhmut as heavy fighting continues. Meanwhile, the German government approved a draft law legalizing the purchase and possession of small amounts of cannabis for recreational use. German Health Minister Karl Lauterbach made this known today, calling the draft law a turning point in Germany's attitude towards cannabis, despite criticism from opposition politicians and judges. According to RFI, the bill, which still needs to pass through Parliament, would allow adults to possess up to 25 grams of cannabis and grow up to 3 plants for personal use. Meanwhile, minors will still be prohibited from using the drug, and the government will launch a campaign warning of the health risks for young people especially. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Francis Adet. Good evening. It's another business day. My name is Blessed Dixon. In the news, consumer price inflation in the United Kingdom dropped to 6.8% in July 2023 from 7.9% in June, pointing to the lowest level since February 2022, mainly due to a slump in fuel prices. Inflation is a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. Additionally, the core rate, which excludes volatile items such as energy and food, was at 6.9%, unchanged from June's reading, but remained outside the Bank of England's 2% target, providing the central bank with room to continue the ongoing policy tightening path. Transport prices declined further in June, pressured by a 24.9% slump in cost of fuel and lubricants. There were also notable downward effects from food and non-alcoholic beverages, furniture and household goods, recreation and culture, and miscellaneous goods and services. Inflation is getting worse in Jumia's main operational markets, including Nigeria, Ghana, and Egypt, as seen by the company's 2023 second quarter financial figures, which indicates a 28.1% reduction in customer base. According to the corporation, the number of active users fell from 3.4 million in the second quarter of 2022 to 2.4 million in the second quarter of 2023, a 1 million year-over-year reduction. The value of items sold on the platform, or its gross merchandise value, decreased by 25.1% from $271.1 million in the second quarter of 2022 to $202.3 million in the second quarter of 2023. The financial report states that orders placed on the site for products decreased by 36.5% as well. In the second quarter of this year, there were 6.5 million orders as opposed to 10.3 million in the second quarter of 2022. In Nigeria, Airline Operators of Nigeria has stated that Nigerian Air, the country's proposed national carrier, may not commence operations anytime soon because it does not have an airline operator's certificate. According to the spokesman of the Airline Operators of Nigeria, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, if Nigeria Air were to begin operations in October 2023, it will be doing so without a valid air operator certificate. Okonkwo said the airline operator certification for Nigerian Air is still on stage 1. Meanwhile, the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mesfin Tassi, speaking in an interview, revealed that the new national carrier Nigerian Air will begin operations by October. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 291.71 million shares in 6,213 deals, leading to a market value of 7.43 billion naira were traded. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 35.2 trillion naira. The all-share index shed 303.70 basis points to close at 64,625.28 points. 116 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 17 gainers and 22 losers. Athena led the gainers with a 10% share price appreciation, closing at 17 naira 60 kobo per share, while NEM Insurance Company came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 5 naira 40 kobo per share. Guarantee Trust Holding recorded the highest volume of 41.7 million traded shares. This is all on business news. And back to you, Francis Adet, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Blessing. And still to come in the news, Team Canada's Jamal Murray withdraws from FIBA World Cup. To stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one hereby grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Glad you're still with us, and now to wrap up our news stories. In the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF has predicted that the number of children suffering from acute malnutrition in Nigeria is expected to rise from 1.74 million in 2022 to 2 million in 2023, citing the October 2022 Gather harmonized a government-led and UN-supported food and nutrition analysis carried out twice a year. UNICEF identified continued conflict, climate change, inflation, and rising food prices as key drivers of the alarming trend. UNICEF, in its latest report, said food access has been affected by persistent violence in the northeast states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, alleged armed banditry and kidnapping in states such as Katsina, Sokoto, Kaduna, Benue, and Niger. The increased attacks, the organization noted, are leading to displacement, market disruptions, and loss of livelihoods. In the meantime, the Director General, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, says consumption of carbohydrate-rich fruits may cause sleep disorders, mouth ulcer, and cancer. She said these in Bauchi State during a one-day sensitization workshop organized for journalists, market men and women in the Northeast and the dangers posed by drug hawkers and carbohydrate-rich fruits. Professor Adeyeye, who was represented by the Director of Chemical Evaluation and Research, Dr. Patrick Omo-Wariola, said characteristics of carbohydrate-rich fruits include considerably loss of properties such as color, taste, and feel. On his part, the chairman of Health Journalists in Nigeria, Hassan Zaki, lauded NAFDAC for raising the alarm, noting that it would help to save lives. He urged journalists to amplify the campaign on drug abuse and carbohydrate-rich fruits in the region. We move over now to Isaac for the latest sports stories.
Thank you very much. In sports, Denver Nuggets star Jamal Murray has withdrawn from Team Canada for the upcoming FIBA World Cup, citing a need for more recovery time following the run to the NBA title in June. The decision didn't come as a surprise as Murray didn't travel with the Canadians for a series of warm-up games in Europe beginning last week. He did take part in the team's training camp in Toronto 2 weeks ago. Murray, who tore his ACL in 2021, has 2 years left in his contract and is eligible to sign up to a 3-year extension for up to $144 million with the Nuggets this summer. He also has the option to wait until next year to extend his contract and could also make himself eligible for a 5-year, $300 million deal if he makes the All-NBA team. While talking football, Chuba Akpom has completed his move to Eredivisie giants Ajax. Akpom, who joined the Amsterdam club from Championship side Middlesbrough, paying the 5-year contract. Ajax will pay a transfer fee of €12.3 million plus €2 million in add-ons for the forward. The 27-year-old was close to sealing a move to Lens last week, but the legal side pulled out last minute. The Nigerian-born striker was the top scorer in the championship last season with 28 goals in 30 league appearances. Akpom will wear the jersey number 10 at his new club. He joined the list of Nigerians including Fididi George, Kano Wankwo, Tijani Babangida, Sunday Olise, and Pius Ikedia, who have played for the European giants. Well, finally, from the Premier League scene, Julian Timber has suffered an anterior cruciate ligament injury in his right knee and will undergo surgery in the coming days, Arsenal have confirmed. Timber, 22, limped off the pitch in the 58th minute of the Gunners' 2-1 victory against Nottingham Forest on Saturday. The Dutch international signed from Ajax for £34 million last month. Timber made his debut for the Gunners in the Community Shield victory against Manchester City before the season opener with Forest, during which Mikel Arteta had to send in Takehiro Tomiyasu in the second half after the Dutch defender said now he could not move on. He made 47 appearances in all competitions for Ajax last season, including all 6 of their games in the Champions League group stage, and helped them win the Eredivisie title in 2021 and 2022. Arsenal, who finished in the Premier League last season, are next in action against Crystal Palace at the Selhurst Park on 21st of August 2023. Timber is the latest player to suffer a major injury at the start of the new campaign. That's it on sports. My name is Isaac.
Thank you, Isaac. And now to entertainment news, where Malian Afropop musician Salif Keita, popularly referred to as the Golden Voice of Africa, has been appointed special advisor to the head of Mali's military junta. This is announced in a decree signed by Colonel Assimi Goita, the military leader who ousted the country's elected President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita in 2020. Meanwhile, the transitional president, in a decree dated August 11 and published August 14, 2023, appointed 5 new special advisors. The decree does not give details about the singer's new role. Report says the 73-year-old singer has been a strong supporter of the junta, endorsing its narrative of national sovereignty and calling for the departure of UN peacekeeping troops from Mali. So on entertainment news, ahead of the 2023 Hades Awards, the Academy has unveiled a list of artists that will be entertaining guests at the event. The artists includes international Afrobeat star Rema and Asake, who are among the most nominated artists for the 2023 edition. The artist is set to return to the United States for the 2023 edition, which is scheduled to hold on September 3, 2023, at the Cobes Energy Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And to wrap up the news tonight, Afrobeat star Davido has procured a new necklace to celebrate the success of his timeless album. The diamond-crested pendant was designed by luxury jewelry brand Local Kettle Brothers UK Jewelers and reportedly cost over 500 million naira. A diamond pendant was created in recognition of Timeless, his multiple platinum album. In a video shared on his Instagram page, Davido was seen taking possession of the jewelry from the designers. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTV.ng. You've been watching Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Francis Oyima, edit. Many thanks for being there and do enjoy the rest of your evening.